So this here is the shelf that I have for my garage diorama. I'm actually going to show how I actually create these boxes in multiple different sizes. This one I actually have tape on. I actually weathered it as well. So I have multiple size boxes I'm going to make. This one I actually have some writing on it, did some weathering, got some tape on it. And you can see the multiple size boxes. These boxes will add life to any garage diorama or any kind of 1/24, even other kind of scale models. So I'll show you guys how to do that. So now that the Cricut is done cutting, all I have to do is actually remove the waste. This makes the job a lot quicker and easier than if I had to cut it by hand. If you guys don't have a Cricut, just take some scissors and start cutting. Also, I get to use most of the material. I don't have much scrap. So all I have to do is take that off and then be ready for the next step. So after cutting these out, you'll have multiple shapes and sizes. So this is the one size that I'm actually going to use to make the oil boxes. Here's another size. This will be a narrow, kind of almost like a pizza box size. No height, but on bigger width. So that's those. And here's a little bit of a more of a square box, I'd say, design. It is actually just a smaller scale of this box. So now we have to score the bends, because if you bend it now, you're just going to have a not straight bend. So what I do is I get a dull X-Acto knife and use the back end, and I use a ruler and I line it up with where I'm going to make the bend, and then I just kind of lightly drag it across. So you can see it's just a light score line. So I will do that to all the bend spots. I do not push very hard. I'm afraid if I push too hard, I'll just end up cutting through it. If you use a fresh, sharp X-Acto blade, it will more than likely just cut right through it. So now your box should look like that. So before I start gluing, I pre-bend everything just to get it to start creasing and working for me on those bend lines. Then the last one there. And for a bigger box like this, I have found that it is best to glue it into a box first. So glue in this seam, leave all the rest open. For the narrow ones, it is almost needed to actually glue them all at the same time. So like this box here, I end up gluing all the sides at the same time. And the way I've been gluing, I've been using a very minimal amount of super glue. I always use the Extreme Power from Hobby Lobby. Right now it seems to be my favorite glue. And you don't need a lot. So even that is a little too much, but it ain't that bad. And if you get it on the outer side of the box, it just looks like it got wet or so. And to help me hold it, I will use some pliers. You don't get a whole lot of time to work it into place, and this step can be a little tricky. Sometimes they go right together for a shot, when other times it can be a little bit of a pain. So I'll let that sit till it fully cures, and then I'll do the sides. This box here, I'm actually going to leave the top open. I'm going to fold the flaps off to the side, and I will put parts in it. This is the box that is what it's going to be, and they got a little bit of opening. They just kind of look like those boxes that are actually hot glued together. So usually for something heavy. And so these two, I got another decals for that, and I'll make it like that. So once that cures, I'll be back. Alright, so I gave it enough time for the glue to cure, which has probably been only a minute. That's one of the reasons why I like to use that super glue, is it don't have too much time to waste. So now I'll do the top and the bottom. Both these sides are the same. Like I said, on this one I'm going to actually put parts in it, so make it look like kind of like a, you can make it look like the parts from the factory like that, or a junk box. This is kind of going to be like a junk box. The key on this is, you can see right now, you can shift it like that. You want to make sure when you glue it and then hold it, you are making your box square, because you can glue it like that and it will look kind of messy. So same glue, just two real little dots on both flaps on the sides, and that little bit will do it. And then I'll hold it in place with some clamp, and like I said, make sure it's square. Sometimes I just do it with my fingers and just hold it there and hope I don't have a box stuck to my fingers when I'm done. So I'll show you what happens when this step is done. So now the bottom is actually cured. If you wanted it to look like that box, all closed, you do the same thing on the top. Certain boxes I've been able to do the top and the bottom at the same time. This one's a little too big, so I end up just doing the top and the bottom separate. But this one, like I said, I'm going to have the flaps open like this, and then I can take some spare parts that just been sitting around, and I probably will not glue anything in these part boxes. because you never know when you actually need the part. This part I'm actually going to paint it. It's a valve cover, and I have the valve cover just sitting in there, but just for now. So there you got 2 air cleaners and valve cover, another valve cover in there. And then, you know, you could just have that sitting on your shelf. I also have these from one of the kits. So I'm going to have that sitting there like that. And the possibilities endless. You can print out some scaled newspapers and have them in there, so like the parts are in there. Some of the newspapers. So there's one way of doing it. I'll end up weathering that all together if I get it done before I am done making this video. I'll make sure you guys can see it. So far for all the weathering I've been doing, I've been using this set here. It's got the gunmetal, some orange rust and silver, but even on the boxes it really don't look like gunmetal or orange rust. It just looks like standard dirt. This one is one that I did just weather. Oh, there you go, you can see the rust color and then some of the gunmetal colors. It's subtle enough where you can not overdo it. I think with a box you can easily overdo it. So I just kind of rub it in, and as you can see with this one, it does have a little bit of super glue, which kind of makes it look like it got a little wet. But a little bit goes a long way with this. And then I'll give me a little rust color. And you really want to be random. Boxes don't really get dirty all on the same method. Just that little bit will do it good. So as you can see, it's got a little bit of age. Another thing I'll do is just get a mechanical pencil. And it seems like this works better after you weather it, because that weathering does seem to smear the pencil a little bit. But I've been doing some arrows, but that is a little hard to do it in the viewfinder, so I just do a little writing. But as you can see, there's the writing. Sometimes I just write some like junk or some kind of parts or anything on there, just to give it some character. Want some inspiration, just go out to your garage. I'm sure you'll have some boxes and stuff like that. But once I get all these weathered up, and I'll have some of them boxes on there. Everything kind of just fell over as I moved it. But with all these boxes, kind of add a little bit of life to it. One thing I did just undo, this was on the decal set. Normally this is just junk, but I figured I'd put that on the box and give it a little bit of life. I'm sure there's a lot of decals you can find to put on these that normally you would just be thrown away, and you can add a whole lot of life to your boxes. So one thing I found out with these boxes is that I can apply decals onto them just like the models, and they actually want to stay on there. They don't seem to want to come off or anything like that. I'm going to let it sit overnight and see if it needs to be coated with a flat coat of Podge. But it is just as simple as adding another decal on. But since it is paper, not plastic, you got to make sure it's actually lined up right away. So once you get it in place, or once you try to apply it, make sure you apply it right the first time, because you're not going to be able to move it around. And I think if you actually did move it around, you're going to lose some of the stick factor. I made this box with the decal. It came when the garage parts kit. It was actually made for the barrels, but they gave you two options. They gave you a Valvoline and a Mobile 1 option. So this is the decal that I end up having. And so I cut that separate, and I cut those to that size and that middle one, and just applied them that way. So I had some scrap. If I didn't use it with these boxes, this would end up sitting in one of my boxes, not being used for a while. But doing it this way, I actually could have a Mobile 1 box instead. So this here is the barrel that I had, and if I used the Mobile 1 decal, it actually would have gone over this, and it would have really been hard. It would take a lot of microset to set it down. And doing it this way, I had put it right on that seam. I had to cut some of it off, and it made the Valvoline really close. The other one also would have went over those spots for the handles, and I don't think it would have went over really well, so that's why I didn't use it that way. So after letting it sit overnight, I actually decided to give it a coat of Mod Podge. I used the flat, just give it a quick coat just to protect the decals. I kind of made it a little wetter than straight out of the jar. That way it was kind of thinner. It does give it a little bit of a shine to it, not so much. I did use the flat, but I did go back over it with the weathering pack and give it some orange looks. As you can see, there's a little bit of orange on it. And so this one here, you can see I did not Mod Podge that yet and did not weather it, so you can see it's a little bit yellowed on this one. But like I was saying about the super glue, this is a little bit of super glue. It kind of looks like a little oil gun on it, which was perfect. It is an oiled box, so it would have a little bit of oil maybe seeping through that, maybe a little grease. It could be Mobile 1 grease, oil, whatever you want it to be. The last step is applying some tape. So, like on this box here, I do have tape. And if you are going to apply tape, it might be best to put the tape on before you weather. Because if you notice on a real box, they're taped and then they get dirty, and the tape usually don't take the weathering. So like you can kind of see there, the tape has no weathering, and then there's no weathering on that as well. And it's super easy to do. I just get some packaging tape. You probably can get some Scotch tape too. And I put it right down on my cut mat. And that wrinkling don't matter. And I just take my ruler and try to get a scaled size to it. And I cut it with the X-Acto knife. And there you can see I got also scale tape. And then I just apply it where the tape would be on the box. Kind of burnish it down a little bit. So there I have some clear tape on it. I do have some extra pieces. Once you cut it to the smaller size, it don't seem to want to stick as good as in your full size. But that adds a lot to it. Even if you don't do a garage diorama, you do a pickup truck or anything like that, these boxes will add a lot of realism to putting in the back. Just give a little bit more life to it, a little bit more character. It's one thing I've been trying to do, add to my builds, is to give it a little bit more life. Everybody builds these great model kits and we kind of get done with it, so I always like to try to push myself and try to add more to it. I really hope you guys enjoyed my video on how to do this. Hopefully you guys can actually do it. I don't do many tutorials, so hopefully I covered everything. And if you got any suggestions, comments, please put them down below. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I'm always trying to put out new videos and everything like that, so that way you don't miss anything. Alright, hopefully you guys can have fun making some boxes for your models, and until next time, I'll talk to you then. Bye.